Morning, trendsetters. So today I'm just going to pull the switch block apart and re-grease everything. These tend to get all gummed up. This one wasn't returning. It's very stiff to action. So I'll pull it all apart. You've got to be careful with these because a lot of, there's a little tiny ball bearing and spring in there. And yeah, look, I'll pull it apart and I'll show you. They just get pretty grimy. The VFR800Fi that I did, I used waterproof grease on the components inside. Waterproof grease is quite thick, and on the previous VFR800 switch block that I did, I used silicone grease, which is very thin, and that provides a much better action for the actuation of the switch. I guess it depends on what type of riding you're doing, like whether you're in the rain, and the environment that you're in determines, I guess, if you're going to need the waterproof grease. So just remove the choke. You can see in there that this is, that's the original grease. This here is the original grease from Honda, and it's just it's stiff, it's caked on, and it's hard. So we'll get rid of all of that, clean everything up, lube it, put it all back together, and it'll be beautiful again. So the first thing that we need to do here is release the tab that's holding the incoming cable. That's a number 1 JIS screwdriver. This is a number 2. There's much better purchase on the screw. I guess you just want to be be aware of the order in which you take things apart. It's not hard, it's just a little bit fiddly. This is a little wavy washer. I don't know why. I don't know, maybe that washer is supposed to have these little tiny waves in the edge of it or not, I don't know. But that that original grease is just caked on. Anyway, so now I can take the little arm out, just pull that up off there. Now this gubbins in here is the difficult bit. Right in behind here, there's a little spring and a little ball bearing in here. So essentially this slider here, there's a contact plate under here, and this slider slides across, and even just actuating this with this little screwdriver, it's stiff. Yeah, the whole lot lifts up, but you see this little tiny spring in here in the back that actuates the ball bearing, or it pushes on the ball bearing. It's so gummed up, the spring stayed in there. Normally it'd shoot out. And this is all held together. See these little tangs? There's another one on the other side there. So you just need to pry them out. Like so. It's the little... That's what I'll dismantle and clean. And this is the little switch block that contains the contacts. So I'll clean that up as well. Just give it an initial, gee, it's hard to wipe. You can see a little bit of corrosion on there. I'll get some electrical contact cleaner. This is just super cheap auto, one of our auto parts in Australia. They make some good stuff. Electrical contact cleaner is great. It evaporates quite readily. So I'll grease all these contacts when I put it all back together. And I'll just go and clean under here as well as best as I can. Like, I can take this whole lot out of here, but it means disconnecting the horn as well, which I don't need to do. The horn's fine. It's these contacts here that were a problem, and the mechanism itself. This bike's done close to 90,000 kilometres, and I wouldn't mind betting that this has never been apart. And you know, it's like anything over time, and all the grime accumulates. And see that little ball bearing in there? Doesn't even want to flick out, but this just sits in there. There's another little ball bearing there. I mean, look at that grease. It's very stiff. So I'll just go and clean all this out. Oh, geez, this is, it's like tree sap. And this little plate comes off, this little tiny spring under this, because this swivels side to side. See, it's not swiveling. So I'll pull that out of there. A little tiny spring behind this as well. It's stuck in there. Probably because this is so caramel-like. I'll just loosen it up a little bit. It's really sticking to my fingers. It's too big. I want to be conscious of not bending this. I want to be careful, I should say, of not bending this. It's really stuck in there. Might actually, you got to sort of pry it over, as there's a little lip in there that sits on the plastic. There we go. And there's a little spring. So all of this will just be cleaned up. Okay, so that little ball bearing in the housing comes out the back of the housing. Clean. I use little carby. I use these for cleaning carby orifices, so I just cleaned up the springs with those, and just use a little paintbrush to agitate all that old grease away. Honestly, this is going to take a bit more cleaning. I guess just be aware of the you know, that washer, which way it goes back on here. Obviously the threaded, you know, the screw goes through here, that sits on there, and there's a little boss that the screw's threaded into, so I guess just be aware of that. I've been going at this for a bit, trying to clean this up, but you can still see this, you know, that's old grease, and it's actually formed a lip on this piece, so it's quite hard. So just take your time. It's very sticky on here, so this will clean up really nicely. I've used a bit of brake cleaner on this because it's steel. But just persevere, keep cleaning, make sure it's nice and clean before you start putting it all back together. And if you're unsure, just take a heap of photos as you're pulling things apart, so as you know how they go back together. It's always a good tip. Now, while I've got this apart, I will take the horn switch out of here and just give all these contacts a clean up as well. And manipulate that out of there. I'll clean that body out as well. And there's a little bit of corrosion just around where the screw attaches it, but the actual contact in there itself, I don't know if you can see that, but that's really clean. Just blow it out with the air gun. Little spring. Spray a bit of contact cleaner down there. Give it a bit of a brush. What I might do is just give it a quick rub with some wet and dry. And this is a bit of wet and dry 600, and I'll just go over those contacts, just give it a bit of a rub, make sure it's nice and clean. That'll do it. I can go back in the casing. Okay, put all this back together, don't lose the spring. Little spring into that retainer there. Contact. That's it. And I'll just load up the back here with a little bit of this silicone. So I just clip that back together, ball bearing goes back in there, big spring follows it, and that slides back down into here. Just pretty fiddly, that's all. Camera keeps turning off because it's overheating, but I'm just putting it back together in the reverse order. Just put a little bit of silicone grease. Last piece of the puzzle. This just holds the last bit of the plate down and holds the wiring in place. It's not done up fully, but okay, that's in there. So you can see the action now. It's really positive.